As you can see, it's a hybrid link again through the protocols. Those of you who are online, if you can keep your microphones on mute, if you go into the debate, indicate on the screen and we'll pick it up and call you the appropriate moment. The rest of the 10 minutes in the chamber. As a public meeting, the press and public meeting witnesses, thank you very much for your interest in council business. I just remind everybody not to record the proceedings, take photographs, or screenshots. The meeting itself is recorded by the clerk and will be released at some point after the meeting takes place. Thank you very much. Before we go on to the agenda itself, I've been informed for this morning that Sam passing on a previous forest elder who's passed away. I'm going to ask Rob predates my time on the council, so I'm not going to give him the due respect in terms of the words of round-ups. I'm going to ask Councillor Hill to say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I was informed yesterday was a passing of Rob Elder, former provost of the council. Rob was known to many of the members, and I looked at the video to see. Actually, I see here a team that were enforced and Sarah Donalds will have the members of Rob. He was a character. Councillor Holden and the Rob Elder had many complications over the people. And a lot of that's possible. However, I'm sure that the family would appreciate us having a silence in memory of a man who served the country well. So I would ask that each and every one that we can, if we can stand and have a minute silence for the former close. Thank you.
Of course, the ambassador, people who owns the surviving family of the council. If we go to the main agenda, colleagues, apologies not for all, apologies from Councillor Holden, Councillor Hanson, and apologies from the Northern Ireland PH. Okay. So I see these previous meetings when it's been to go through this one, I'll do them in a lot of watching, get page to page, and to item in those pages you want to simplify up to get through it. So the first one is the minutes of the meeting, Clackmannanshire Council for the 2nd of February, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11. Page 12 to 13, page 14 and 15. Tenth approved.
Yes.
Special meeting of Clackmannanshire Council on the 16th of February, page 17, 18 and 19, page 20.
Yeah.
Minutes of special meeting of Clackmannanshire Council from the 7th of March, page 21, page 22 and 23. Votes. And the minutes of special meeting held on the 9th of March, 23, page 25, 26 and 27. And the finish. Great, thank you. Okay, item 4 the agenda, is the appointment of paper for this being a regulated committee. Those of the convention of the North
Thank you, Convener, and good morning, everyone. As a result of elected member resignation from the COSLA Convention and the role of Vice Convener of the Regulatory Committee, this report seeks nomination to these roles. The recommendations are to seek nominations from the current membership of the Regulatory Committee to undertake the role of Vice Convener, seek nominations from the Labour Group to replace an elected member as the Council's representative to the outside body of the COSLA Convention, as detailed below, and note the amended political balance of the Council as a result of the recent resignation of an elected member from the SNP Group, as detailed in paragraph 3.4. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, any other questions?
Yeah, just there's a question of procedure. Do you want to take the 2.1 2.2 and 2.3? If you want to take.
Yeah, that's what I suggested.
So we'll need to take 2 1 2 2 separate because the nominations come from the local policy. The problem is just that it's the local balance. We'll do that, so it's going to move the second to this fourth. Okay, so the 2-1 nominations for the current membership, from the membership regulation committee. So to take the role of vice committee, any nominations?
I nominate Councillor Errol.
Any further nominations?
Second myself.
Those in favour? Carried. So 2 nominations from Labour to replace elected member on the COSLA Convention.
And we further discussing it in Assembly, and we are going to make a nomination after we have a AGM, which will be held within the next week or two. But I'm hoping to have it by the 3rd of April. We will have a nomination, but just take away the week, I believe.
There's actually a COSLA Convention on the 27th of March, and I'm really disappointed that Clackmannanshire Council wasn't fully represented at that meeting.
No, because it's a lot of.
I think people are voting is a good point. We'll still have the nomination because we haven't discussed anything in all that more yet. But as you should like to vote, please. As a member of the nominee, thank you. As a member of the nominee for the convention, then yes, I will take that role and make sure that the council will feel it represented.
So,
Sorry, but the people that are going to us. Yeah, but people may just like to make the nomination.
well, we're to do that, take them, it's really. Okay, this for clarification, what you're saying is that Labour will have somebody to cause a meeting and then do two forms of nomination to replace that person as the man.
Yeah.
They will need to come back then to council for future.
As soon as possible, can.
Okay. Are we content, council? Please. So, remember, to that, we visited what we had political balance and consciously in favour of moving the second issue that opened up to debate. Then you to be What about this? Happy to approve. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is the audited annual accounts. It raises, take a seat here, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. This report presents the audited annual accounts for the financial year 2021-22 for approval. I ask Council to note the changes from the draft statements approved in August. The draft financial statements were approved for audit in August, and during the audit, a number of changes have been identified and made to the accounts. As a result of these changes, the general fund revenue reserve have increased by 772,000, and net assets in the balance sheet have moved by 4.9 million. A further 2 changes have been identified, however these have not been reflected in the actual audited accounts, as they did not have a material impact and there was no change to the general reserves balance. These are reported as unadjusted errors and will be amended in the 22-23 accounts. There have also been some additional disclosure enhancements made throughout the annual accounts to enhance the readability of the accounts. So I'm happy to take any questions on the accounts and also ask Council to note that the external auditor will be presenting their annual report on the accounts under the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Any questions? Motion to move the paper.
Yeah, happy to move the paper convener. The annual accounts is probably one of the most significant annual pieces of work undertaken by the council and by officers, and I would like to express my thanks on behalf of the council to Lindsay and the team for pulling the work together in what has been challenging circumstances. There's no doubt that the 21-22 financial year was impacted by the pandemic, and actually today is the first anniversary of lockdown, and quite a good chance to reflect on that. And it's fair to say that the 21-22 financial year is dominated area of council delivery, from the administration of grants to communities and businesses to delivering initiatives like Spaces for People. We had to move and divert resources really on a day-to-day basis. In the face of these challenges, Clackmannanshire Council delivered a balanced budget, and a robust financial framework has ensured that resources continue to be targeted to our agreed priorities. The continued prudent financial management and medium-term financial planning have allowed the Council to successfully manage its financial affairs and objectives. We've delivered initiatives like the Talawadi South Campus and significant progress on the City Deal. Levels of borrowing continued to be managed downwards, which have created the conditions to support our ambitious capital programme, which will deliver projects like the Wellbeing Hub and the new Milwaukee School. Our Big Future Transformation Plan clearly sets out where we want to be as an organisation and how we will get there. There has been significant investment over the last few years to create the conditions to transform the delivery of public services in Clackmannanshire, and last year we agreed a new target operating model to allow this to happen. Transformation will now be embedded across all directorates of the council to ensure that they're fully embedded within all council services. So the accounts are before us today and post the paper.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay, second.
Yeah, just happy to second, and really not much more to add to Councillor Forson's proposal there. Just really to reinforce our grateful thanks to Lindsay in particular, but to Officer for pulling this huge piece of work together. As Ellen's outlined, there's been a hugely challenging context that sits behind this. But I think it's important to reflect, whilst we have a challenging context, particularly financially within this local authority, we've still managed to create conditions, to create financial conditions that's allowing us to actually go forward and continue to invest and be aspirational for Clackmannanshire. So I think this particular paper really does allow us to stand back, to reflect in a number of different ways.
to understand that we still are very much working within a really constrained financial situation. But our level of aspiration for Clackmannanshire is such that we are really pushing the boundaries and working really, really closely with partners to bring in that investment that allows us to really to take forward our key priorities. So really just again, just to finish with a huge thanks for pulling this, what is an incredible piece of work under challenging context. So thanks to everyone to get in.
Thanks, Councillor Lindsay. Peter's open up for debate. Councillor Clyde.
I would just like to add my support to the Clackmannanshire about the paper. That's an exhausting piece of work, and it makes me put together extremely well. Because of the hands, and we should be grateful for that. So I'm very willing to listen to people.
Anybody else? Okay, well, my last contribution, you want to opportunity, so Chris first. Basically, yes, I like it. Okay, item 7, which is the annual report to the Chartered Governance and Control of Audit Financial Year ended 2022 and its workers.
Good morning, Convener. Good morning, councillors. The paper presented today outlines the work performed in respect to the 2022 audit of Clackmannanshire Council accounts and detailed findings when it comes to their work. You will see this split into two documents within agenda item 6 of the papers. Firstly, appendix 1 on pages 211 to 220 of the Parliament is a cover letter, the proposed independent auditor's report, and I provided a list of representation. And secondly, appendix 2 on pages 221 to 256 contains a annual audit report. I'll take the papers as read, but I'd like to call members of the Commission to the following. Starting with the cover paper on pages 211 to 212, this confirms that our work has been completed and subject to council approval today, we will be able to issue an unqualified audit opinion after the council meeting. This is supported by an auditor's report on pages 213 to 216, which details the full audit opinion and concludes that the accounts are truly fair and the remaining matters to be without exception. As part of the completion work, we also seek written representations from Lindsay and Section 95 officer on certain aspects of the accounts. And this is attached to pages 217 to 220 and includes a standard representation slot arranged for the accounts for different circumstances. As part of the approval today, we would also ask that the council confirms that they approve the rest of the representation and are content with the representations included, and confirm there is nothing else that we should be aware of before the accounts are signed. Moving on to the this can be found on pages 221 to 258 of your papers. On pages 223 to 224, this summarises your key findings and outlines an opinion on the financial statements and conclusions related to the wider audit dimensions. You will see that concluded the accounts are true and fair, and find that the management commentary, the annual company statement, and the remuneration report are consistent with the financial statements. We also found the financial reporting arrangements in place without the council to be appropriate. Exhibit 2 on pages 230 to 232 details the significant finding in the audit that we are required to report to under ISO 260. As Lindsay mentioned in her earlier paper, there are 9 significant findings, and this is already taking through a number of these. I can confirm that where applicable, these have been adjusted within the audit of the accounts. I will also draw your attention to paragraph 33, where misleading statement 0.68 million were identified, but again, some of the extracts have not been adjusted by management in this year and will be corrected in 2022-23. Exhibit 3 on page 233 outlines the results and conclusions of our work on the risk that we reported earlier in the year in our annual audit plan. We've mostly given issues to report from this work. And finally, Appendix 1 on pages 253 to 251 to 253, we outline the audit recommendations as a result of issues we identified from the 2022 audit and management of individual responses to making these actions as appropriate. Following the council meeting, we would ask that the council is sent electronically using DocuSign, and I can confirm that emails already been sent out to the designated signatories. To end my presentation, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Lindsay and the rest of the finance team for the help during the budget, and we'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Mark. Do you have any questions? No, Mr. Clerk?
I think we do. Yes, everyone. Each year, you outline things that have been picked up in previous years and you make some progress on those items. Is that trajectory moving in the right direction that we're getting each of these matters resolved? Or are we continuing to have delays in resolution of some items?
So I suppose it's an next question. You can see from Appendix 1 that we have highlighted where there was recommendation the previous year. You can see that a number of those have been now resolved. But with any audit, we always pick up items each year. So I think we are moving in the right direction. One of the things that we have highlighted is there are still some control weaknesses within the council, but again, we've got assurances we manage and that the local solutions will be those.
Any other questions? Councillor Boswell, will you take it?
Thanks, Convener. In proposing the paper today, I note the external auditor support. I do welcome acknowledgement that the budget is focused on our strategic priorities, that transformation continues to be a key part of council business, that we continue to make positive progress towards addressing the areas of concern highlighted in the 2018 Best Value Report, and that we continue to maintain performance levels of council services. Given the challenges faced by the council in 21-22, I've already alluded to, it's understandable that there have been areas of performance that have not quite met the expectations of the auditors. However, we did focus on meeting the needs of people's communities and businesses over this time, and officers have my full support in this, as do the representations from the Section 95 officer in relation to the audit. That being said, though, I think the recommendations within the report provide some areas for improvement, and certainly as a council we will place this on board for future years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rosie,
Yep, just happy to take on the second.
okay, the paper's open for debate. This debate, please. We need to sum up. Yes, the recommendation is that council note the content of the final auditor's report, through the content of the representation and to note the content of the audit report, the recommendations for improvement in the form of the year, the primary recommendations, all those items captured in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 actively. Item 7. Non-domestic rates, any property movements, anything?
Thank you. So this report asks council to approve the policy for empty property road in respect of non-domestic rates. Up until the 31st of March 2023, the granted by the Scottish Government and administered by the local authority. From the 1st of April, this rate has been passed to the local authority to set the policy and the minister. So this paper sets out the proposed policy, which is in line with the policy previously offered by the Scottish Government, and asks council to note that this will be reviewed throughout the coming financial year. Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions? Good morning, sir. Yes, a person to do.
Yeah, happy to move the paper. As council leaders, we're consistently lobbying for calls for more powers from the Scottish Government over local tax raising revenues, and I think the devolution of the empty property would give us an opportunity for this. Policy as is set out in paper, and I know that the administration, along with other administrations across the country, do intend to review the policy in the coming year to see if there are any ways that we can use those new powers to benefit people across Clackmannanshire. But I'm happy to propose the policy as it is just now, and we will bring something back for consideration over the coming year.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay, you said.
I'll get second again. He's a protest.
Okay, papers up for debate. Councillor Gannon.
Thanks, Jerry. I think the reason why we're not getting a lot of people actually debating on this is because we've had so much information and everything. We've had a lot of briefings prior to that, which in years gone by it didn't happen, and it's now happening. And I think that's one of the reasons why. And I actually commend everybody who's been working so hard behind the scenes on this, that we can then sit here and go, right.
That's not, I'm sure for those on the outside looking in, watching and looking for, wonder if the lack of read sometimes, but I do take the point where the duties are extremely helpful. The administration point, in the regular segments, it's something that doesn't want us to become far from the we come to those meetings. As well as we can debate, of course. So, when we feel need to buy against the person. So the paper is recommending the council look the need to have a policy implemented effective from 1st of April 2023. The proposed policy, 1st of April 2023 is set out Appendix A, and to note that the policy will be reviewed between 23-24. Thanks, approved. Item 8, the Clackmannanshire investment strategy.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, councillors. In the December Council, we committed to bring forward proposals for an investment strategy for Clackmannanshire. I'm pleased, therefore, to bring forward this paper today for consideration. This paper presents an approach to secure £100 million over 10 years. This scale represents a step change for us and a shift towards a wider investment mix, less dependent on grant capture. The paper outlines 6 strategic investment opportunities across the county, which we propose to work up into investable propositions. This is not the sole endeavour of the council. This scale requires a plan to be developed with our partners and delivered with our partners. Council is asked to approve this approach for use of the Levelling Up Fund capacity building funding to secure expertise, and the development of the prospectus to frame the consultation with communities and our partners. Thank you for considering this paper, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks for any questions. Councillor.
Next year, 2.10, we talk about shifting from reactive submissions to grant capture. I was just wondering, are you feeding that back to governments and grant holders to ensure that they're taking on lessons and learning on lessons? You're not just talking on us, that everybody gets excited about it now, and you go, here, and you look through it, this is actually complex, this isn't better priority. I'm just wondering if there's also that upward motion as well as working with partners and feeding it downwards as well.
I see lots of nodding around the table because, yes, absolutely, this is something that we're doing. We're working with both Scottish Government, UK Government and other funders, including trusts, etc., to feed back how the current funding is misshapen how we are able to respond in a strategic way. And we see in the paper the work that the Wellbeing Economy Alliance and Foundation Scotland have been undertaking to really look at how we shift away from funding the status quo and start to look at that more strategic approach to funding.
How's that initial feedback been? Is it pretty positive for the ability to change, or is it quite rigorous, stuck in their ways?
I think the change may take a little longer, but this is setting this direction of travel. I think that it's a 10-year strategy that we have here, and hopefully that distribution of funding will start to take place with that as well.
Thanks. Any further questions? It's possible to move the paper.
Yeah, happy to move the paper, and I don't have to be as diplomatic as Fiona was there. It's fair to say that a great deal of work has been undertaken over the last few years, as has been previously mentioned, in relation to the Council's transformation programme, and the paper before you today as a result of part of this work. For far too long as an authority, we've been trapped in the perpetual hamster wheel of chasing funding pots released by both the UK and the Scottish Government. This is resource intensive and does not allow us to focus on our local priorities. As a council leader, I certainly feed this back to COSLA, and certainly something that's raised in a negotiation with both the Scottish and the UK governments. Funding is very often released at short notice, and the expectation that particularly small local authorities like us have Green Book business cases sitting ready to go into this absolutely ridiculous. So the investment strategy, I think, is laid out today is going to see us shift away from that. We will have business cases ready to go, but we will be laser focused on the priorities that we want to see for Clackmannanshire, rather than just chasing the pound that happens to come from one government or another. As mentioned in the report, this is an investment strategy for Clackmannanshire. It's not Clackmannanshire Council's investment strategy, and I think that's absolutely key. Because the delivery of the work that we want to achieve over the next years will not be done by Clackmannanshire Council alone. It will be done by working with partners, and we really need to move the focus on that. The strategy is ambitious, and it's key in delivering the capital programme, which was just recently agreed, moving forward. So I hope that councillors across the chamber can get behind the strategy and start us on the road, I think, to moving things on in a much more positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay, second.
Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, and just to build on that, for us to realise our ambitions for Clackmannanshire, it's essential that we leverage additional investment from other sources. Our level of aspiration for Clackmannanshire, alongside inflation and long-term challenges of cost of living, related to energy costs, make that even more critical. The councils have a proven record on leverage funding from grants, with 2 million reported last year and a further 6 million being reported within the paper. And a good example of this particular work is through our public-private partnerships, such as the Hunt Foundation and the Scottish Government investment in the Family Wellbeing Partnership. And over that 3-year period, the Family Wellbeing Partnership has secured in the region of 2.9 million, and that's investment in supporting child poverty and wellbeing within our council projects, really key critical projects for the council. However, we do need to move forward, as Councillor Gross has highlighted. We need a much more strategic approach that will drive investment in our larger scale projects and assets. And the strategy needs to include a wider mix, investment mix, as outlined in the paper. The investment strategy needs to be fully focused, as we just reinforced, on council priorities within the capital programme, our own building and land assets, and ensure that proposals are sustainable in the long term. And we've got 2 of these major projects we outlined in the council papers today that are critical to us going forward. I'm pleased to see the strategy and plan will be developed with officers, members, communities and partners over the coming months, as outlined in section 10 of the paper. I'm happy to second.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Lindsay. People open to debate. Councillor Curran.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to see a move away from original money filling this long still get it to a more strategic approach, as you say, and broadening it across the entire county. I think opens up access to money to not available to the council as well, which makes a lot of sense. Taking a more strategic approach, so it reminds them of the team that we spoke about in the previous episode starting. What do we need? Where should we be taking this? And the question would be, what do we need to get there? And this more strategic approach fits in with that. It gives us a way of looking at things and saying that we will go out and hunt for what we need. And we'll make those contacts. So I'm 100% endorse the change we go to the most sensible business.
Thanks, Councillor Curran. Councillor
I know, I just agree with everything that's been said, and just want to kind of express my, I really do think this is a much better approach with, with the grant funding. It's a bit like the tail wagging the dog sometimes, when you find something to do with it. Well, you've got to find some way to apply for it. This seems much more, like I said, much more strategic approach. It's much more ambitious as well. I'm pleased to see the inclusion of like priorities like government dam as well, being part of that. And also the working with partners and things, I think is absolutely key. So I'm very interested to see how this develops and how we can kind of utilise the partners, work better with them to try and get, try and get more funding on board, try and achieve the ambition. Because yeah, it is really ambitious, and but I feel quite optimistic, and I'm really happy to support this paper as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I was going to say, I think it's a really good paper, and they recognise its both its landscape and things, agendas that we've got just now, and I forgot what else I was going to get, but yeah, I thought it was good. It's like taking the bull by the horns and doing something, bringing us up to a position where we really need to be going forward. So yeah, I think it's good paper very well.
Thank you. Any others? So,
Just very briefly, I'll just welcome the colleagues and the support across the chamber for the paper, and I also welcome Councillor Coyne's recognition of the Tom in this. It's almost like well planned, and it might just be coming together. Thank you.
okay, thank you. There's a list of recommendations. I'll just quickly run through them. Council approved the overall approach to investment strategy, which will seek to develop proposals for the six strategic investment opportunities outlined in section 7. The use of 125,000 million upfront capacity, building funding for ground expertise, develop business cases and master plans and strategic investment opportunities. The proposal to bring forward detailed plans for Clackmannanshire consultation is outlined in paragraph 1. The development of prospectus and opportunities is proposed in paragraph 1. The proposed approach to line upfront proposals in anticipation of a round 3 opening is outlined in paragraphs 9.1 to 9.7, and the proposed political sponsorship, senior officer sponsorship, in operation of the ordinary level is outlined in paragraph 10.2. There's a further series of recommendations for the council, recommended to the council note, captured 2.7 to 2.13, and keeping all in on board with the 10 to 30. Thank you. Item 9 is our innovation hub.
Thank you, Convener, and good morning, Council. I'm very pleased to be able to bring this report to the Council today, as it demonstrates significant progress on two of our biggest city region deal programmes. The report provides members with an update on the progress of the joint work that's been taking place together with the University of Stirling and others on the two projects, which are Scotland's International Environment Centre, SIEC, and the Intergenerational Living Innovation Hub, ILIH. This has involved work from academics and entrepreneurs at the University of Stirling, together with council staff from place and transformation teams. Health and Social Care Partnership have been represented, and also Forth Valley College have played a key role in the early work, particularly in the area of skills development, as you might imagine. The work we've done together really demonstrates the worth of investing in and taking time to do some of the early structural discovery phase processes we kind of touched on in the last paper. And the outcomes from this work have resulted in a proposal for the creation of an Alloy Innovation Hub, comprising the SIEC Phase 2 and the ILIH, in the details in the paper. So originally, these were two separate programmes within the City Region deal. As we've assessed, there've been discovery phase work independently on both projects, but if we've been doing it over a period of time for the last 4 or 5 months, it's become really apparent that two things are pretty much one and the same. We've got a lot of touch points, a lot of the same infrastructure requirements, and they want to locate in the same kind of places. So we've taken the proposal to put forth the suggestion that it should be a single process. So in terms of governance, the governance for the project lies with the City Region Deal government, so the joint committee and the two governments have a role. And should the council agree this paper, we'll be taking forward formal governance to make a formal change control recommendation to bring the two projects into a single project. The university will be taking a very similar approach to this to their court next week. So you'll notice in the recommendations that we talk about endorsing the direction that we're going on. That kind of reflects where we are in terms of the governance. But I think it's really important that the council has an opportunity to express its support for the project this year, which council will do. So the recommendation is to note the progress set out in the report and endorse the creation of a single allied innovation hub encompassing SIC and ILH. To note the next steps set out in sections 323 and 326, and specifically the next step around site options appraisal and feasibility, and then the deal governance milestones that we need to go through in time it takes to do that. And then finally, noting that there are clear links to the council's Work Be the Future transformation programme, and specifically the transformation zone-based approach, and also clear links to the previous paper, the investment strategy which council just approved. So thank you very much. State the question.
Next, anybody have questions for Peter? No?
Yeah, I'm extremely happy to be proposing this paper. Again, it's an example of, pulling together strands of work that are starting to show fruition. For those of you who attended the briefing earlier in the week, Dr. John Rogers from Stirling University provided a quite an in-depth presentation in relation to the innovation hubs, and you mentioned at that time it was 2018 when he first presented the idea of Scotland's International Environment Centre to myself and Councillor Sharp, who was the council leader at that time. And straight away we knew that it was going to be something pretty special, and we were really keen to see that illustrated here in Clackmannanshire. And through the work with the City deal, we've managed to achieve that. We've also managed to achieve another significant project in the Intergenerational Living Innovation Hub, which will see Clackmannanshire become a centre of excellence for work on sustainable ageing, is probably the best way to describe that. And the idea of bringing those projects together was something that was floated a while back and took a little bit of work, but I think it's fair to say that the work has really delivered in what we're now calling the Alloa Innovation Hub. But it's more than just the City deal, it's also pulling together the work that the council has been working on over a number of years in the Be the Future transformation programme. The transformation zones in particular were a huge part of that, and they're interwoven throughout the Alloa Innovation Hub. I mean, really, all these projects are being brought together to change things in Clackmannanshire. We know what our challenges are, we know what health inequalities are, the systemic poverty that many of our local people suffer from, our poor quality, low-paid jobs. But the work around the Innovation Hub and the City Region deal is to tackle that and really make long-lasting change, which has never really quite happened in Clackmannanshire before. It pulls together the strands of work that we have been doing with the Family Wellbeing Partnership, and at the heart of it all is community wealth building and the wellbeing economy. And for me, that's one of the most important parts. It's not about big business, it's about making sure that our communities grow and become sustainable for the future. That's at the heart of everything that we're doing here, and I'm just absolutely delighted to see it coming before us today. I was really keen that this paper was brought to council for confirmation before it went to the City Region Deal Committee, because I think it's only right that members here are aware of just some of the work that's been going on their behalf. So yeah, happy to propose this paper.
Thank you, Councillor Mortensen.
Yep, I'm happy to second this paper, and as spokesperson for Environment and Net Zero, I just wanted to again express my excitement at having the Scottish International Environment Centre and the Intergenerational Living Innovation Hub. It's a bit of a mouthful. To Clackmannanshire. I mean, as the paper states, climate change and an ageing population are two of society's biggest challenges, and they are intertwined with one another. And for us to have the centre in that hub, sorry. And we also have the centre here that's exciting for what the ideas and projects that could come forward. I mean, I've been attending the climate change forums that Clackmannanshire residents have attended, and they have been expressing to like myself and the officers, that they know the challenges that we face with climate change, and in every one of those forums, the residents have spoken about the willingness and wanting to be part of projects at the forefront of tackling climate change. So I'm really excited that we have these hubs and the prospects of that we'll be moving forward.
Thank you. Peter's open for debate.
No, I mean, I'd like to see these people come to the council. Councils are very good at spending money on worthy causes in their area, but the balance to that is actually creating money to spend. And this is the second one, anything which stops innovation, sucks in business, sucks in talent, and that talent grows, and each bit feeds off another. It grows in support services around about the innovation centre, support services come and work around that. This is a necessary, a laudable, and fantastic thing to do.
Thank you. Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Hill.
Thanks, Chair. As Councillor Foster alluded to, we attended a presentation by Dr. John Rogers the other day, and it was so innovative. The presentation itself sort of filled you with excitement of what's going to happen in the future in Clackmannanshire. But that's over 10 years, but just to bring it back to what's actually happening at this moment in time, we had a meeting of the day with Gatmore Dam Development Trust, and they were pointing out various things that they would like to see happening in Gatmore Dam that would also provide a ripple effect throughout Storthy and beyond. And it was an excellent meeting, and a number of things that they asked for were sort of, you would say, out of your reach immediately. However, at that presentation, John Rogers confirmed to us that there will be a water quality monitor going into Gatmore Dam in the next week or two, which was just absolutely amazing that the dam would ask for it. The innovation that is happening in Clackmannanshire is able to provide that in such a short period of time, which will then work towards the other things that we hope to happen in the dam in the very near future. So although this is maybe a longer-term strategy, it's just to point out that it is already making a difference in Clackmannanshire. Thanks, Commissioner.
Councillor
I'm glad to hear Councillor McTaggart being there about the short down. It's good to see partnership. There's a real partnership working. We can do a little the dam between a bit of a milestone and into the council for a number of years because there have been lots of problems in there that haven't been tackled. Hopefully this will be a method of pursuit. So, however, to go back to the paper, one of the exciting things that came over yesterday for our presentation is when John Rogers said, we were talking about the SI, so we'll just call it the National Environment Centre. That's what he said. I'm not going to enter that problem. I'm not going to have time to do it. However, what he did say was an exceptionally important point. This idea of the International Environment Centre is something that has been looked at not only locally, it's being looked at nationally. If this becomes a success, and I'm confident that it will be a success, this is really going to our Clackmannanshire on the map. Where before it was Clackmannanshire put up. Or I think the Parliament is going to be our. But what we're looking for now is investment. The benefits are really said that once you start looking investment, you're able to If that's more and more funding and it can only be a success. So I'm excited about the SIEC. One of the things that I would say though is that there's a tremendous amount of what's going on in the background. The public out there don't know what's happening. Or they may not have a full understanding of what's happening. So I think for communication, we need to get a communication strategy a lot better in this okay, to let people know. Because what we've seen is Region House was mentioned before about being centre, but it's a mistake. But the people all need to see is the building with the fence around it. They don't see what's the work that's been done in the background. So I just ask that I'm going to be sent forward, that we do take the public now along with us. And we just let them go to exactly at every stage. If there's a change in the direction that we let them go, the Region 5 is going to we'll just let them just talk to them. Then with that, I'm full supportive of this. I think it's an exciting innovation. I'm sure that will, as I say, will put the monitor on the map.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Yeah, just to add some elements here, I mean, thank you one too far, but for me, this is partnership in action. That looks really nice to see from the previous paper, as I said, I'm on the paper anyway, but this is absolutely partnership in action, exactly what we need to be in Clackmannanshire. And I don't actually disagree in terms of what Councillor Errol was outlining in terms of communication. I think we do communicate what we're doing well. Sometimes it's just the detail, a little bit like intergenerational. Do people realise what that kind of means in terms of what, you know, on the ground that looks like? And you know, I think there's some pictures we can definitely paint to help clarify that to people, because where I think you are right is that this is truly transformational work, and something that the headlines around council tax or whatever else can be detracted from this really transformational and innovative work that's actually going on in our doorsteps, and the ripples of that has been outlined as well. But the partnership, this is real partnership in action. Officers, members, partners, Stirling University, really true partnership in every sense of that word. I just wanted to be a little bit trivia. I know it's a little bit blowing on the trumpet, but certainly Councillor Corson been a champion of this particular work. Officers have obviously been critical to this as well, but Councillor Corson has really championed this project, really driven hard, put our management front and centre of this particular work, shouting as loud as possible. So not only championed it, but got into the detail of the work and really strengthened the partnership that we now have with Stirling University and other partners associated with us. So I think it is important to pay tribute to that, because you know, Councillor Corson cares passionate about this area. And this is a reflection of that within this paper. Thanks.
Okay, any other contributions? Mr. Foster, the opportunity to supplement.
Very briefly, I welcome the comments and the support around the chamber for this. There has been an awful lot of work put in here from across the council and across our partners. I completely take on board the comments on communication, but as we often find with these things, there's a protocol that has to be followed for communication in the city deal, and it needs to be signed off by us, by Stirling Council, by both governments. It can be quite turgid to get through. And we have been communicating quite well, and one of the benefits of working in partnership with Stirling University is they have much more experience and resources in doing that. So I'd encourage members in particular to have a look out on the Uni's kind of Twitter and Facebook feeds, because there's been a lot of podcasts and videos around a lot of the work that's been going on. And part of our role as councillors is to be ambassadors for that work. So if we can share it, we can make sure that community councils are aware it's going on, etc. The next stage, as we move on to the stage 2 of the SEIC, is going to involve a fair bit of public and community consultation. So hopefully, once that's on the ground, we'll start to see a bit more awareness from our local people about some of the work that's going on on their behalf, because they're going to actually be very, very key to the success of the project. So I'm looking forward to that and taking the work forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So the paper itself is a series of issues for us to know, 2-1 to 2-1-4, and we keep getting out to hope to do that together, so looking for the people again, we can take the report as we did. Okay. Item 11 is the proposal on the permanent relocation of Lockie's Primary School of Colin.
Morning, thanks, convener. Good morning, council. The report provided shares important. So again, good morning. Good morning, council. The report provided shares important information on the formal consultation on the permanent relocation of Lockie's Primary School. The school supports our learners with complex needs across Clackmannanshire. Following the options appraisal in 2021 and 2022 of all our educational establishments, Lockie's School was the only school in the local authority classed as Category D, unsatisfactory. This ultimately has led to the council agreeing on the 6th of October 2022 to move from the current site at Gardner Road to the pavilion site. The proposal has an indicated opening date of August 2026. This decision made by council was subject to the outcome of the formal consultation. Today, council is asked to consider and note the outcome of the formal consultation as a permanent relocation. To give clarity to both the consultation process and feedback, we have included Appendix 1, the report of the statutory consultation, Appendix 2, the public consultation feedback, and Appendix 3, Education Scotland report. Within the Education Scotland report, they highlight HMI inspectors agrees that the proposal for the new school has the potential to bring clear educational benefits for the children attending Lockie's School. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
So, do you have any questions? Yes, again. Yeah. So, when we talked initially about moving Lockie's School out to the pavilion, highlighted that there's a lack of a land transport service out to the application. Can you tell me what the situation is at the moment?
Thanks. We've done quite a lot of work around about this and looked at individuals attending Lockie's currently. So Lockie's currently is made up of children across Clackmannanshire. There's 5 taxis or buses that collect children from across the authority and deliver them in Lockie's in the morning. There's a walking bus for those who stay local. That would still be in place. We would still have that in place to make sure that learners from across the local authority can access it readily. But we're working closely because obviously this comes hand in hand with the Wellbeing Hub, and there's obviously not just young people but adults accessing it, and there's further work to be done regarding public transport around about the whole project and the whole, but for the learners, that's all in place for them.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Klein?
Yeah, just on that subject of the independence of Lockie's School recycling wellbeing hub. Can one happen without the other? If anything were to go wrong with the notion of building a wellbeing hub, would that materially affect this proposal?
No, this Lockie's could still be a priority. It's still part of our learning street strategy for taking forward as the top priority to within our learning street strategy. There's a group that form and Lockie's top of that list.
Councillor B?
I was looking at a bit more information around shared spaces and operating hours, which are noted in the report and mentioned by a few of the parents. Just looking to give a bit more information on that, if there's any plans and been any lessons learned from existing shared sites that we've got about action.
Two questions they've got almost hand in hand. There's added benefits of a wellbeing hub and Lockie's being side by side. When you look at the staffing supporting just under 30 young people in the school, it's actually duplicate that of staff because the amount of expertise we need with NHS. So when we talk about building a wellbeing partnerships, it's absolutely key to delivering a good service to the young people. So the lessons we've learned is, I wish we could rewind back time really in our establishments that have got severe complex needs to provide that wraparound service which we're trying to deliver for both.
Any further questions? Councillor Lindsay, to move this.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, it was agreed obviously at the meeting, the Clackmannanshire Council meeting on the 6th of October, a statutory consultation process on the proposed permanent relocation of Lockheed School to Alloa West should be undertaken, and this paper notes the outcome of this consultation. The consultation required for the formal consultation focused on the educational benefits of the proposal. The summary report of Education Scotland concludes the Council's proposal is of clear educational benefit for children and young people accessing Lockheed School. The report recommends the proposal should go ahead, and the Council should continue to keep parents, staff and other key stakeholders around the school community informed about the progress of the rebuild. A programme of communication and co-creation with stakeholders is scheduled, and I look forward to being part of this as the education spokesperson. As we noted at the budget meeting a few weeks ago, the administration are delighted to be moving forward at pace with this development, with 19.9 million already agreed and allocated. Lockheed School has been one of our key priorities, and I would reinforce that point in terms of the question from Councillor Coyne and the answer from Colin Bruce. This is one of our highest priorities, if not the key priority. We have others as well on the list. This is a top priority, not least because of the needs of the young people involved and their inadequate surroundings in terms of the current facility provision. And this really does fill me with pride that our most vulnerable young people are going to have a modern facility that's co-located with a facility that's going to completely meet their needs in terms of wellbeing services and their health overall. Co-location with the wellbeing hub makes sense. It works not just economically and efficiency-wise, but from the perspective of the services that we can provide for the young people and their families. So, just want to thank officers for their work on this. I think this has really come forward at speed. It's important to remember, that there was an election in May, and we kept that continuity going in terms of making sure this top priority is taken forward. So just thanks to officers for the speed and which that we've been able to move this forward, allocate the funding and complete the consultation. Thanks.
Thank you. Second for the paper.
I would like to welcome the paper and I'm pleased to see during the consultation that there is agreement that the proposed reunification offers the opportunity to create what is required and not constrain the building currently. The potential of the new location has been identified, including access to outdoor areas and opportunity for partnership working with the NHS to provide a wraparound positive space for our young people accessing Lockheed in the future. From the consultation, I note the concerns raised due to transport and access to the site from some responders, and also the belief of some that this site will already provide better access. And I'm pleased to see that through the project team, we'll continue to look at transport and access to the site. Education Scotland has also noted the importance of continuing to keep parents and other stakeholders informed, which I welcome. I would like to thank officers for the work from this paper and also the second this paper.
Thanks, Councillor Hammond. Papers open for debate. Any news to debate?
Population against this paper, absolutely nothing. I think it is really good because the young people who are attending Lockheed School at the moment, we are in the school that is past facility to make it available. And they're moving into this new state, a new direction, and being close to the new hub can only be a benefit. We've had disagreements on this in the past. I believe that yes, it is moving forward, and I can see the vision for the hub, and it can only be of benefit to the young people using the school. So we will fully support this paper.
Thank you. Anyone else? Something?
Thanks, yeah, really supporting the new school. As has already been said, for future proofing an environment for children at this moment. We get real for a minute, you know, that's 30 kids, that's 30 families, that's 60 members of staff. You're improving their experiences, their life, their health, their opportunities, and I think that can have far-reaching consequences for the areas in the community and the staff that help and make a more appealing environment for people to get involved in all this staff and members in the environment. So feel supportive of this paper.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Really just to address that point around accessibility, and I think it was already addressed, but just to reinforce that point, that accessible, of course, we need to consider that, and it is important to make sure that, you know, particularly for the families that we're talking about, that is an accessible place. And I just think, I'll maybe spill over to the next paper as well, but the site that we have selected for this is not in the middle of nowhere. It is very much still central in terms of where it's based, and it's very accessible to get to. So, and I noted points around congestion. It's not an area that I would associate with massive congestion. In fact, I think it probably removes ourselves from congested main road sites as well. So, just want to start that kind of chain of thought and communication that, you know, this is a central site. It arguably connects our other communities slightly better, certainly than it was currently. But even if we think that the centre of Ireland was the place to have everything, I think that would be, you know, probably wrong to think that that is the answer to all of our plans going forward. We need to ensure that we're connected to other communities as well. And this site does that as well. So we've just addressed that point, but I appreciate the support across the chamber for the specifics of this paper and allow us to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you. So the paper asks us to note the outcome of formal consultation with the permanent relocation of Hockey School. Further notice of proposal be available with the council is attached and an indicative open date on August 2026. Have to approve. Item 11 is the Wellbeing Hub development update.
Good morning, councillors. Convener. I'm pleased to present this paper, which provides an update on the Wellbeing Hub, which is requested by the council leader and agreed by council previously. An update is provided at each council meeting, given the significance, the scale and the interest in this project. The report provides an update on the energy and environmental performance options, which are informing the design brief and the final budget. As the report outlines, HubCo were commissioned to provide a report on energy options and how these would impact on the overall cost projections. Different options clearly lead to different design considerations in relation to materials, build, quality, energy sources and systems. This will also impact on the projected running costs. Benchmark information on other projects which applied either net zero or passive house approaches have also been considered. You can see from the paper that the projected savings of taking the passive house approach are significant and could range from around 50 to 70% reduction in energy consumption. However, as indicated at paragraph 3.5 in the paper, further calculations and savings will be dependent on the final design of the building and future energy costs at the time. Nevertheless, by applying the highest standard, we would be ensuring that the new Wellbeing Hub and local school would have a considerably lower impact on the environment to that of a normal swimming pool, leisure centre and school, delivering against the council's climate change strategy. When the passive house considerations are factored into the capital costs, the current projected costs, as agreed by council on the 9th of March as part of the capital budget programme, are 55.884 million. This figure includes updated inflation costs and figures provided to council in February 2023, as well as infrastructure costs. As previously advised, these costs will be further refined during the RUFA stages and brought back to council for final approval of the Gateway 2, expected at the end of this year. as will details of the proposed operating model. We're currently studying and visiting comparable venues and other operating models, and also monitoring closely other major projects, including the new Allender Leisure Centre in Bearsden, Blairgowrie Recreation Centre, the new facility PH2 in Perth, and the new Feeder Institute in Dollar Academy. A summary of progress against the REBA stages is attached to Appendix 1, which shows where we are currently preparing the brief to move to the concept design REBA Stage 2, which includes site development and energy options, as previously mentioned. The paper also provides an update on the communications activity, with frequently asked questions regularly updated on the council website. And I would encourage all councillors to come forward with the questions that you get so that we can keep that FAQ as live and updated as possible. We're listening to our stakeholders all the time and updating that. And in addition, you'll see that we've got a new Clacks Live directory website, which is actually being launched tonight at this evening's Clackmannanshire Sports Awards, which allows our communities to find out what is on across Clackmannanshire for sport, leisure, physical activity and wellbeing. This has been developed in partnership with local clubs, community partners and tribal organisations. And again, I would urge you all to have a look at that Clacks Live directory site. You'll see the fantastic range of activity that is already available across the county, and the new Wellbeing Hub will be a crucial part of this networked facility. Lastly, I would just highlight at Para 3.20, parents of all our current P5 children have now been informed that they will have access to swimming from after the Easter holidays. This will take place at Dollar Academy and at the Peak in Stirling, and plans for next year's rollout for P5s is already underway. I'm joined by Robbie Stewart, who is currently on secondment, as previously informed, from Sport Scotland. He's leading on the project, and we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Do you have any questions? Yes, Lee.
Yeah, just noting the paper obviously became passive standard, which is good. You know, that's really glad to see that. But with that, obviously comes increased cost, and I'm just aware that in the audit report page 99 it says an uncertainty that the council will be able to sustain its current spending in the repair and maintenance programme, and just wondering what assurances you've got from HubCo that if anything goes wrong, our service users and the council are going to be more than protected, or we're not going to be left without facilities or facilities that aren't running to the passive house standards, because I know that it's new, equipment's expensive, and it's more prone to glitching.
Thanks for the question, Councillor. I guess to kind of give you some comfort, the process of going through the passive house, going through that process of getting passive house certification, there'll be rigorous tests all the way through construction phase. Actually, in terms of construction, build and quality, it'll be higher than anything else we've built before or anything else we've built around the country, because we have to make sure it's meeting these needs. That ensures that when we're actually operating the facility as well, it'll be built to such a standard that the likelihood is lower for any ongoing issues that may occur. So I think one of the reasons why we decided to go through passive house is for that reason, but also for the ongoing cost reductions to operate the facility going forward.
In relation to community wealth building, how easy will it be to carry that ethos through that, putting this together?
I would say that community wealth building is absolutely at the heart of this project. It's very front and centre of everything we're doing around the project, from actually developing the design and the brief all the way through to the user. So absolutely, it is front and centre.
Any further questions? Thank you. Councillor Lindsay,
Thank you, Gina. Yeah, the council has committed to give an update on progress in the Wellbeing Hub at every opportunity, and this paper is part of that commitment. I've said this before, and I've said again, if you can't get excited about this project, and I mean the Wellbeing Hub and workings, then I don't know what will get you excited. The recent budget being allocated and agreed 55 million for the facility development as part of the ambitious capital programme. We have an aspiration for this facility to be the most inclusive facility in the country, and I believe we'll deliver on that. But I'm also excited to see the opportunities that arise through the passive house standards which have been discussed, where an estimated where we could achieve anything up to 49% reduction in energy consumption for the Wellbeing Hub. And we've heard as well that there are other examples. I think there's one other in the UK currently that's seen around 60% to 70% reduction in energy consumption. So this is a really exciting project for us, and the passive house standard will ensure that the Wellbeing Hub and local school have considerably more impact on the environment to that of a normal swimming pool and leisure facility. As an administration, we're unapologetic in our ambition for Clackmannanshire. This is our own major development. The biggest of our time really does highlight this, and I think that flowed from the Relevant Innovation Hub to the Lockie's paper to now this being the Wellbeing Hub update really does show that level of ambition and what we're actually able to deliver, and that we need to really ensure that we are communicating this to local people so that they understand the level of investment and partnership with this women. And on that, communication to the public has been strong, and this needs to continue to ensure that we keep them engaged and involved at each step. I look forward to further updates and progress, including options relating to potential operating models. But I do want to extend thanks to Lorraine and to Robbie. You can tell that even just by the presentation and the level of answers that we'll receive, and we're all over this project. The staff are all over this project. It's coming fresh from Sport Scotland, and is really all on this place and all over this project. So really excited that this can bring, really confident about what will be delivered. And yeah, happy to close the paper. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod, second.
Thanks, convener. This paper obviously gives us an update, and then specifically around how the challenges will be around energy and meeting our net zero targets. And as we can see from the paper, the REBA stages will take time. But we can see that journey in the REBA stages overview, which shows a great deal of activity over this year and next. And like Councillor Lindsay, I thank Lorraine, Robbie and all the team who are involved in this and who are intent on keeping us updated and involved in this project. And the stages will become clearer as future reports come to Council for approval and transparency as the projects develop. I'm delighted to see the mention of community involvement in the paper, recognising that the development of the Wellbeing Hub will be truly inclusive throughout, with the community as crucial stakeholders in this project. Combined with the new Lockie's School, this is the most ambitious project seen in Clackmannanshire for decades. I'm looking forward to seeing the progress over the coming months and years. Thanks, convener.
Thank you. People's open to debate. Mr. Benny, followed by Councillor Quinn.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, to look back 5-6 years ago when I first came on council, this is just a remarkable change that's happened in the last 5-6 years. But International Environment Centre, you've got Lockie's going to get relocated, the Wellbeing Hub, there. The officers are all engaged and find the importance of what's happening. And I think it's fantastic the way the council has actually grown up. I feel like and we know what's needed to be done, and it's actually getting done. And I can only thank all the officers who are involved in that. And it's onward and upward, really. I mean, we need to get this done for Clackmannanshire, and our name, Clackmannanshire is on the map. And you know, I speak to officers and councillors from all up north and all the rest of it, and they're looking in and going, well, what's happening in Clackmannanshire? Well, we're all now buying in for the same thing. We're not arguing, we're discussing, and we're getting it right, I think. And I think going forward, that's the way that that's going to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Quinn.
Thanks, convener. No, I'm really pleased with the progress on the map. Just want to offer my thanks as well to Lorraine and the rest of the team for the work they've done so far. You know, it's talked a lot. We've talked a lot about a lot of exciting stuff this morning. Talked a lot about, you know, £100 million. We talked about international environment sector. We talked about law. We talked about a lot of exciting things. I think anyway that are happening right now here in Clackmannanshire. And you know, and things we're doing are hard decisions. You know, the easy decision is not to do the things we're doing. To do the easy way. You know, the easy thing is just to go with the minimum regulations in Brotherly Sports Centre. No way blame anybody for doing that. Because, you know, look at the kind of environment people are in now, the struggles we have with the budgets and things. And, you know, that's probably the default for most places when we start with. But the fact that we're looking at not just net zero, but going beyond net zero, so that, you know, people get Passing House certified to be the first sports facility in Scotland to be like that. And, you know, like Councillor Earl was mentioning earlier about putting Clacks on the map, you know, like all this kind of stuff we're doing, really we could be and we should be leading the way in terms of, you know, achieving our net zero targets and showing that you can be more ambitious, you can go beyond, you know, you can just go beyond the minimum. You have to think about these things. So I'm really pleased, and I think we feel the benefit because we've seen in recent times as well with the increase in running costs of things. Obviously, that is extremely hard, but if we're going to be building our new facilities to a much higher standard, you know, if that ever happens again in the future and the costs are increasing, you know, our costs will be much more under control if we build things that we don't need to use as much energy, and we're much more energy efficient and we're much better for our emissions and help us reach the targets. So I just wanted to say I'm really pleased with this paper and just to, you know, express my support for it. Thank you.
Much. Any others?
Very briefly, I think just building on the last couple of comments, I think there's almost a thread running through the papers today in terms of right from the financial life set and that context that you had outlined at the start, you know, the way the council has been run, you know, from a financial perspective over the last 5-6 years, and taking those difficult decisions, because I think if we simply rewind to when I first started, and some of the really challenging decisions that were sitting before us that we've now taken are allowing us to take what I would say is arguably easier decisions in terms of how we invest going forward. Obviously, they're complex and challenging, but exciting decisions going forward in terms of our investment into Clackmannanshire. So I welcome the comments and the support for the paper and the hub now. It's interesting we're talking about our innovation hub, we're talking about wellbeing hub. I wonder if we are getting a time in terms of communication, making sure our local people understand what we are doing and don't conflict these things in terms of understanding. I wonder if it's time to start looking at what are we going to call this. I don't want people wincing behind me. I'm not suggesting that, you know, we completely do a headline sponsor them, but I just certainly in terms of taking that to the next level and making sure that people are clear. If people are clear, that's fine. But I'm just conscious that we are using that word hub a lot, and maybe of course we know from others that are on this one. So I'm sure you get what I'm rambling on about here. Really pleased to just move this further forward. Appreciate the update and leave it.
Thank you. The report asks us to note the following: the report commissioned by Upward to provide updates, capital cost projections for the joint project to build a model school, bring the energy and environment performance in the options. So the capital cost projections are based on the optimal facilities mix as agreed with Council August 22. So the approval of the capital cost projections are secured through the capital programme and are based on the assumption of adoption Passing House option for the Wellbeing Hub and School, and to note the progress against the Wellbeing Hub development. 6-month plan is detailed in the Wellbeing Council paper outline the plan for C1 to 3. 2. To pass the paper. Yep. Item 12, strategic housing investment plan 2028. Sorry.
Good morning, Council. Excuse me. The paper in front of you presents the Council's Strategic Housing Investment Plan 2023 to 2028. It represents a clear continuation of the overall investment strategy that the Council has approved in previous years, but also acknowledges some of the substantial challenges that the whole sector has faced over the last 3 or 4 years in delivering new affordable and social housing. The overall framework remains unchanged. We have been successful, I think, in some measure in delivering and meeting our targets around the programme. This year, around 100 houses, new social rented housing will be delivered principally through Primrose Street, but an additional 40 acquisitions by the council. And you see the same approach rolling forward, reflecting the investment priorities and the investment levels that have been set through the council's HO capital programme, but also the resource planning assumptions that the Scottish Government has made available. They have questions.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Any questions, Councillor B? Councillor Renfrew.
Thanks, Chair. 5.7, the RPA funding, is the overspend, or sorry, the underspend of 22-23, is that kept in the pot for following years, or is that lost? And another follow-up question to that was, over the next 3 years, you're looking at a £3.3 million overspend, and that's realised, that's not estimated as of 26 to 28. If that's the case, and we know that now, what are we doing to adjust our inputs to ensure they can meet our expectations?
The understanding is lost. So, I think now not only lost to the council, to the extent that colleagues in the Scottish Government can't reallocate that money in year to other local authority programmes, it will be lost to the Builder Housing Supply Programme. That's simply a reflection of the pressures that the Scottish Government is facing around its capital programme. The overspends are over-programming, not overspends. So we're not aiming to overspend, we're aiming to have sufficient additional programme so that if individual projects that we are progressing during the year fall away during the year, we will have other projects that we can call on and bring into place so that we don't underspend. Or when the opportunity arises, we benefit from the transfer of money from underspending programmes and other accounts.
Thank you, Councillor Renfrew.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Personally, the first question that we asked, thank you for that. 1426, we talked about Glencannon Mill. There's a couple of questions on that in this issue. Firstly, can you tell me if Glencannon Mill was a listed building?
No, it's not, and it's not in the conservation area.
Let's leave the next question then. Will you be achieving the facade of the building for any new development you're going to build there? I know in the past when you redeveloped the Long County Hospital, they incorporated some of the building materials within the building from the down, so that people still had a link to the parts of that building. Would that be considered?
Got very well with this thing, do I? The answer is that decision hasn't yet been made, and it is part of the consideration. At the very least, we would want to ensure that the development reflects the build form and the style and the impact that frontage makes. So you want to hang on to a relatively hard 2.5 story frontage at that particular point. I think it's initially a technical question of whether or not the facade itself can be saved. I think there is some doubt about that given the deterioration of the building, but it's yet to be decided. And we're aware that there are different views of the community about the relative value of that frontage, so it's there for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yep.
Councillor.
On page 87, there's a bit of investigators and a sales regulator on housing homeless applicants. How do you see that? Maybe go forward. Sorry.
It's again another live conversation with the three housing associations that are most active working. We start detail about the extent to which they might be able to offer some of this use of temporary accommodation, and they're all very quickly turned around and said yes, absolutely. We're very happy to make that available. We are in conversation with them. The difficulty is that it needs to be a proper, the right type of temporary accommodation. They are mostly providing family housing, with most really smaller properties for tenants. So they've been very engaged around that. They're also very positive about the council allocating their houses. So as you know, 100% of the street is allocated by the council, and we have subsequently been offered that as a continuation, and we will gladly accept that. And they also readily accepting Section 5 referrals when they occur. So it's about the practicalities of matching the supply that's coming through their own stock and the people coming through your percentage of if you instead 100% of their let's in a year. So they have been very engaged and very positive.
Thank you.
Okay, and about Councillor Denny.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick question. 6.0 links to City Deal and transformational change for the housing. How is that actually going to work in real terms?
It may be very difficult to measure that, but it's clear. The City Deal is essentially about promoting and improving the economic development of the Clackmannanshire area, and obviously housing is a critical part of that. I've seen estimates in some academic reports that suggest that around 10% of all jobs in metropolitan areas are actually driven by the housing system. So having a healthy and functioning housing system across all levels, social, private, and the environmental sector is absolutely critical to employment. But it's also critical to productivity. Recent reports identifying the quality of housing that making a difference to levels of engagement in work, but also productivity, or bad housing affects everything. So to the extent to which we can improve the quality of housing and the availability of housing, we are supporting the development and the strengthening of the Clackmannan's economy and social infrastructure. But there are some practical elements to that as well. So, for example, conversations going on with the university around the intergenerational living and the extent to which Clacton and Townsville in particular can be used to develop a model of housing, which is more than just meeting the needs of one particular household or one particular facility. But it's these types of considerations that we're looking at.
Okay, any further questions? Sorry. Councillor Battaglia, communicator.
Thanks, Convener. I'd like to thank you and the team for putting together this strategic housing investment plan for the next 5 years. Research has shown that inadequate housing is a major factor in improving mental and physical health. This is a stark reminder of just how important housing is to our communities, and why we must reinforce our commitment to grow, maintain and sustain our housing stock in Clackmannanshire. We're a very small local authority, and during the period covered by this report, we were very much still dealing with the effects of the COVID pandemic. As with most other local authorities, COVID and Brexit caused unavoidable delays, resulting in a delayed spend. However, plans are already underway to accelerate our programme to bring it back in line as quickly as possible. As noted in the report, construction and labour costs have risen sharply, which results in project costs being higher than first predicted. It is likely that costs will continue to rise over the 5-year length of this SHIP, but this 5-year plan will be reviewed and reported to Council on an annual basis across those years. A new housing needs and demand assessment and the housing business plan is already underway, and these will inform our future housing plans. There are challenges, and while much of this report is retrospective, those challenges are likely to continue. We need more specialist properties for disabled residents, and we have a growing elderly population who deserve to have homes that are fit for their changing needs. Specialised development, such as the very successful Primrose Place project in partnership with Kingdom Housing, has shown what can be done to address this type of housing need. And this is now populated with 60 very satisfied tenants. Further developments are planned, as mentioned in the report, for example, Glen. I'd like to thank all our hard-working housing staff and our other members of staff who make projects like this available and successful. The Council has an excellent track record in providing high-quality, affordable housing. We intend to continue to do so despite the challenges. Thanks, Convener.
Thank you, Councillor Moore, second.
I just want to second it.
Peter, open for debate. Councillor Denny.
I just wanted to pay particular note following up from Councillor Martin's question. I would have been very pleased to see that there was going to be a real focus on ensuring there's housing for homeless people. But as well as that, as Councillor Taggart mentioned there, those who have special needs. And I noticed that in the housing developments in every single area, that those two particular elements were covered, and I think that's going to be hugely important moving forward, so I was really pleased to see that.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Well, next up, a appealing session from the deal with the operation. I'm glad to see that Bengal and Drive, that something is going to be done with the last idea at that moment. I know it was, I won't see the not long time ago that we decided that we'll be able to talk to move on with that. And I now see that the England Drive project is scheduled to go in next couple of years. And I think it's if it's 20 flats or that it's going to be done by Kingdom Housing. We've seen the Elm Grove site and the standard of work that's done in Kingdom Homestead and there. Jane just talked to just about the criminal street development. Again, we've seen the standard of work there, so I'm excited about the standard of work that they've done down there. It has been very much a nice work down in England Drive. So I'm glad to see that something now is going to be done to bring that area back up again. As far as the Clackmannanshire is concerned, yeah, I'm glad to hear that there's a possibility of retaining some of the building materials that were used for the Clackmannanshire and the development. Just so they don't have to retain that, that they don't lose it. When we look at the houses on Massachusetts, the breakdown of the site of the former hospital there, it's good to see them and see the end of it. And essentially, there's some historical buildings there. I'm glad to see that all in all, yes, I'm absolutely happy with this report. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other contributions? Councillor Taggart, what Commissioner?
No, that was okay.
Okay, so the papers recommend that the council approve the strategic housing investment plan for 23 to 28, including the summary 5-year programme of housing sites detailed in appendices 1 and 2. Consent to approve. We're going to go on to the last couple of items. We advised this morning that this will be the final council meeting for we're on about the door before we get there. So the outfield at both council meeting this morning, Fiona is here, Mr. Collins, and Tony is employed with external contract that's going to end very shortly. So I'd like to a bit more pass without recording Betty James and Sue actually the contribution in both of your roles. We've all had various levels of contact with both the individuals in the room and some more than others. More disciplines from the contact some individuals and members of administration, but I can say that there's been a contribution to the spoken of very high the work we have for the length of time that you've with us has been hugely valued by all of us for the individuals with them. From my seat, sitting here as a community council, which is the front facing part of it, I've always been struck by the very professional and detailed way you dealt with the questions and contributions that have come from the chair and commanding your brief and when you can deal with those things. The council. So, on behalf of all of us, I thank both of you very much for your contribution to partners and council this morning. This week, whatever you want to come here. Okay, item 13 is the community development progress report.
Good morning, Council. I'm pleased to present to Council this morning this community wealth building progress report. The purpose of the report is to update Council on progress to embed the principles of community wealth building in Clackmannanshire, following approval of its community wealth building action plan in December 2020. A progress report has been prepared and is attached in the appendix. This provides a summary red, amber, green status for each of the original action plan's 21 actions. I think it's fair to say there has been significant progress across many of these, and work on them does continue. The report also provides an overview of how we will deliver on actions over the next 12 months. It's also noted within the report that the Scottish Government is consulting on a new community wealth building bill, a response in which is currently being prepared. Happy to take any questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I suppose look at it?
Thanks, Convener. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers Emma and Paul for pulling together this progress report. I think it's fair to say that this was the one thing that Councillor Clark and I had in common over the term of the last council. It was the passion and the drive to ensure that community wealth building became a part of the everyday business here in Clackmannanshire. And I think it's safe to say that we're on that road and we're actually making great progress there. The initial action plan was approved by Council back in December 2020, and it gave us a particularly strong platform, not just for the Council, but also for our partners across the Community Planning Partnership to build on. And since then, both the Council and our Community Planning Partnerships have prioritised the wellbeing economy for Clackmannanshire, and community wealth building is a key economic approach, which is going to help us achieve that. We've made significant steps forward against the action plan, but we do need to keep pressing forward to make sure that community wealth building is a guiding principle in everything that we do. And I think it's safe to say in projects like the Wellbeing Hub and Walkies, the City deal, we're certainly championing community wealth building at every step. And it's through that work actually that community wealth building became an integral part of the City deal. We were the first city deal in Scotland to actually have the principles of community wealth building absolutely at the heart there. We know that the Council can't achieve this ambition alone, which is why I am particularly delighted with the work that's been done across our AMP partnerships. We've done particularly really good work with health and with our third sector in delivering just some of the aspirations for community wealth building. There are a number of areas that I would like to particularly highlight that are very important to me, and these are, in a number of areas, gender justice. I mean, I think that's a great, kind of strapline to have in there. But when we know that women in Clackmannanshire tend to be the people who are in the lowest paid and lowest quality jobs, putting gender justice at the heart of everything we do is really, really key in that. And we've managed to do that through working in partnership with the Council, making sure that we deliver the living wage, our partners can deliver the living wage, but we've also been very key in really trying to build entrepreneurship and business ownership amongst women across Clackmannanshire, and that's something I'm particularly proud of. Our procurement journey has seen significant improvements over the last 5 years. We've seen a 10% increase in the number of businesses, local businesses that Clackmannanshire Council delivered contracts through. If you look at that on a Forth Valley basis, that's significantly higher. And I think that's something that we need to be cognizant of moving forward. The other area I just really want to highlight is the partnership working. I think we've got significant examples of that across the area, but I want to particularly mention the Alloa Hub. That was a community wealth building partnership with Alloa First and CPSI to take a district building in the heart of our town to turn it into a tourist attraction, which benefits community, but also delivers employment and training opportunities. It's Clackmannshire's first community interest company, and I think it's safe to say it's been a great success and it's going from strength to strength. That's community wealth building in action, and I think it's when we see examples like that that we can really say that we're making progress. I think we're taking a kind of a wider approach to the delivery of the community wealth building action plan, and it really is, as I said, the heart of everything that we're doing here. If you look at the papers already in the transformation zones, the city region deal, there's practical, real examples there of how we're able to move things forward. And I look forward, I suppose, over the coming years to make sure that's fully embedded, and we won't have to question whether community wealth building has been considered, because it will just become a way of doing things here in Clackmannanshire. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton, second.
First report, the community wealth building report highlights the immense work that has been undertaken by the council, the Clackmannanshire Alliance and community farming partnerships during challenging times, provide progress in an exciting programme to embed the positives community wealth building in Clackmannanshire. It's really helpful to see the RAG status, which demonstrates the impressive work that's already taken place and the continuing work in front of us to deliver the outstanding activity along with our partner agencies. I'm also pleased to see this is a multi-annual report which allows stakeholders to be kept informed of this important economic aim for Clarks, and we look forward to further updates. I would like to see it.
Thank you. Members up for debate. Councillor Ray.
That's what my thoughts are finished. Just to say, I was involved in this from the very beginning when I worked in the third sector, and one of the things I was really excited about was the involvement in the third sector in it. Something that hadn't really happened in our area, and in the initial meetings, very pleased to see the discussions of mental health and trauma being core at the heart of everything that was discussed. And you can see that now loud and clear in the paper. And also with CTS now being so actively involved and the wider third sector, I think that's really important. Another point I'd like to make is I'm really happy to see local tenders being won. Where commissioning is sort of being won by local organisations, where in many areas across Scotland tenders are going out to companies that don't know anything about the local area, not with that perspective. So it's really important to see that Clackmannanshire is taking forward local initiatives and supporting local businesses to win these contracts. So I'm very excited to see this paper and feel actually really proud to see how far it's come after the initial conversations that took place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further contributions? Councillor Lee.
Yeah, fully support the community wealth building paper that's before. Just a couple of points, Councillor Frost made there about gender justice. It'd be amiss of me not to mention that there's a number of women in my ward who are great minds, entrepreneurial, and they can't get help because they don't fit within the box parameters that are set by the help that's available. So they're excluded, so there is a lot further to go to break down those barriers. And the same applies to mental health. There's people in positions who can't access the support. So there's a lot more work that needs to be done there, but this is definitely heading in the right direction, and it's good these topics have been raised and discussed because it is important. So I'm happy to support the paper.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Frost, you want to take some? No? Okay, next, the paper recommends council making progress with delivery of critical actions detailed in the community wealth building action plan. Approved the council meeting in December 2020 and the proposed activity to be undertaken in 23 to further make community wealth building the Clackmannanshire in the event. Councillor.
Yeah, before we go to the next item, after the 5-10 minute information can be available, can be just right to start the meeting and other stuff to discuss on the table. So, turn for 5-10 minutes.
Come back at 11:30.
So I'm not letting you slow down.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. Last item on the agenda is the item 14 Council Champions paper. Stuart, you can see the paper first of all.
Thank you, Convener. The purpose of this report is to agree Council Champions for the roles as outlined in paragraph 3.3. Remits for each are defined within the paper. Council is asked to agree the approach to deciding champions and consequently agree the post holders as indicated in paragraph 3.3. Council was also asked to agree the role and remit for each champion as per paragraphs 3.4 to 3.10. I'd be happy to take any questions to the thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. Any questions? Councillor
Opinion, but why do we need champions? Because we change the structure of the council now, portfolio holders, spokesperson, senior management leaders, conveners. We have all that there, and I don't really see the need for champions when we're going to have the people in those roles.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. I think traditionally there has been roles of champions going back to 2012, possibly before that provide an opportunity and a platform for particular subject matter issues to be advocated and championed. And those may sit within a portfolio, and some are possibly not obviously within that portfolio. So if I take, for example, armed forces and veterans champions, that's one that the province does, but obviously that was necessarily within the remit. So it does provide that additional profile and platform to champion particular roles that are perhaps have a legislative slant to them, or a policy. So the qualities, the promise, etc. They are specific, and it kind of heightens the profile of it to some extent.
Any other questions? Councillor.
Yeah, we're about to discuss another amendment to that. I'm just like to understand, is there a necessity to tie these in the role of champion into the administration? Does that make any logic, or is it something that should be open to?
That's the point. Yeah, I mean, I think custom and practices have been aligned to portfolio or spokesperson roles, and I think if it weren't, it would bring perhaps some obvious administrative challenges. So, for example, if I could, in terms of briefings, very selfishly, officers, there's elements of briefings being aligned with the spokesperson role. Not to say that couldn't be overcome, but certainly from an efficiency perspective, that certainly helps. I think around the element of policy development, it certainly gives an element that's obviously easier to have a voice coming through. Spokesperson is appointed by council in terms of that policy development. Obviously, traditionally that is through the administration group, and officers supporting the administration group to put their policies to council for council consideration. So again, I think there's efficiencies on that one. I guess the other thing is that the spokespersons are appointed by council, and by dint of that, they have access to fora that perhaps other councils may not have, and that enables gives a platform to champion and advocate those particular causes. I suspect the other thing is our officers, again, just being transparent on this. And I think we are used to that. There would be an element that we would probably have to make sure that we were ensuring there was sufficient compartmentalisation. And I think we're used to that when we're dealing, in a political environment. Obviously, we work for the council, but we don't really work for the political environment. So I think there could be tensions, there may be challenges around that. For example, where you could have a spokesperson advocating a particular position and a champion perhaps another, but not to say it's insurmountable, but I think as officers we need to be very alert to that and make sure that the necessary compartmentalisation is brought to bear around that. As I say, everything's surmountable. I think they're just issues that we need to bear in mind. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
I think why not?
Anyone from that? Can I ask Councillor Wilson to move the paper then?
Thank you, Chair. It has become common practice amongst all 32 local authorities that a champion be appointed for particular policy areas. I believe this demand has really come from the third sector, charities, pressure groups even, on the particular policy areas that we're talking about. And it's generally expected these champions at the political level. It's our view as an administration that this should be aligned to the spokespersons for the particular services or the senior politician that has responsibility for that role, because ultimately, literally on a day-to-day basis, they are responsible for the policy formulation and discussions with outside groups. They literally are the sort of figurehead in that particular area of responsibility. And ultimately, accountable for that within the political structure of our council. So today we're talking about 8 champion roles, which will include very quickly. So the carers, veterans, armed forces, older people, equalities, climate change, children and young people, and the promise. All of which we have spokespersons or senior political roles such as mine and the promise to have ultimate responsibility for these service policy areas that we've been talking about. And therefore, as an administration, we feel it's tidier, cleaner, then, as I say, ultimately the responsibility of that spokesperson to deliver on that particular area and be the key point of contact, not just for council officers, but outside agencies as well. So that's why we're really the key recommendation is that these political champions and these champion roles are held by the appointees that we've outlined. And as I say, they're detailed people through, and also within the paper as a wee bit of a job description in terms of what those champion roles are. So I would hope they would accept the recommendations 2.1 to 2.3 and we can have a second option.
Okay, Councillor Watt, second.
So as spokesperson for environment next, we would like other spokespeople, promise and leader with both champions with hand in hand for current roles. I've been speaking to residents regarding climate change and on forums, attending events regarding the environment and sustainability, as well as attending national events to highlight Clackmannanshire and our willingness to be part of projects to tackle climate change. So these roles as champion go hand in hand with what's been detailed in the paper. So I would happily second this paper.
Thank you. And then that's submitted to the paper from the councillor. Howard, do you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Chair. There may be a slight change to the amendment after the discussion of the plans. This meeting will be something. The policy is while recognising the importance of having community champions in place, I would consider that it's equally important that these champions have lived experiences. And to that end, I would recommend item 14 further 3.3 to read as follows. The champion for climate change, we can accept the leader, accept the nominee, shall I say. But we'd also like to add Councillor Clem's name to it as well. So we'll have to do two different, if Councillor we couldn't make it, then we have Councillor Clem to go on. Go ahead. Yeah, and if you have a substitute. Champion for qualities, it would be the spokesperson with a substitute to Councillor Rennie. The champion for the promise would be the spokesperson and the substitute would be Councillor Martin. That way, just in case there's any problem, then you can put someone that with experience, that could explain to the people and get a bit of understanding. It's okay, we don't know the theory behind things, but if no one gets it to the person that's about through the paper particular, that's the purpose of my initiative today. It's just to have someone in there with lived experience who actually speak to more than someone who knows it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Taking advice of that, we use the officer the processes for managing this matter.
I think, Councillor, I think I would advise that the amendment is withdrawn and the new amendment to put forward in relation to having shadow champions, the word out, shadow champions put forward to the council.
Okay.
So I think you're saying that you want the shadow champion for climate change to be Councillor Quinn, the shadow champion for equalities to be Councillor Rennie, and the shadow champion for the promise to be Councillor Martin. And you're looking to amend it accordingly that these will be shadow and not nominees in terms of the champions that have been put forward and in terms of 3.3 of the paper.
Thank you for that.
Can I just ask about the other champions? Are they not worthy of shadows?
No, it's not the word of shadows.
So, just in terms of process, you've now put forward an amendment to the amendment. Before I ask for a second to that, you just check with the individuals that you named that are happy to accept the nomination. You're first one on the list.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Rennie and Councillor Martin. Okay, do you have a second for that amendment? Councillor Quinn. There was a debate and Councillor Silence.
Thanks, Convener. In the previous administration, I was champion for older people. During that time, I built up quite a good relationship, albeit a short time, I built up quite a good relationship with the various groups and the various statutory organisations that I attended in that role. So much so that since being re-elected last May, I have practically on a weekly basis being asked, when is this champion going to be decided? When are we going to be the champion again? And I said, well, that's up to council to decide. The point I'm trying to make here is that people tend to gravitate towards a person in a role. And it could become quite confusing if you've got two people in that role and people just don't know who to approach. So therefore, if you've got a principal champion for a role and a shadow champion for a role, the shadow champion could, identify the fact that they just have to be seen a bit more regularly than the other, become the principal by default. And it just, I think it just muddies the waters. I don't know another local authority area that has more than one champion for any specific role. So I just wanted to point out that it might actually cause confusion And when does the shadow take over? No sort of thing. Thanks for that, convener.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, convener. I mean, I have a couple of comments, I suppose, on the amendment. I think there's an awful assumption being made about lived experience there. And I would certainly say that there's a significant lived experience on this side of the table in relation to a number of issues. As council leader, I'm the head corporate parent for Clackmannanshire, and I specifically asked for a champion for the province to be added to this list, because I see it as the most important role that I have as council leader. I open conferences for Child Poverty Week. I attend the Violence Against Women and Girls group. I am at the table chairing the Clackmannanshire Alliance, where I actually lead for the council and the community planning partnership on the promise and on equalities. So I think any kind of suggestion of anyone else doing that role would be a bit contradictory, because I'm actually at the table in a position of influence to actually do the job as laid out in the description and champion the needs and the policies to I suppose get better outcomes for the people that I'm going to do. It's not a flag for me, it's not a badge, it's not something that I just fancy being a champion. It's something that I take very, very seriously. And I'm hoping that we'll get support across the chamber to do that. It's common sense that it's a elected spokesperson who is the champion, because ultimately we're the ones who are responsible for bringing policy forward, and we're the ones responsible for setting the budgets. In the recent budget that was just a couple of weeks ago, there was significant mention made to the promise, mention made to our agenda for tackling child poverty, mention made to our commitment to the climate change agenda. If people had attended the budget and actually maybe thought about putting forward amendments or an alternative budget, they might have been able to actually demonstrate that they were also in a position to be champions for those areas. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. I would say, Phil, in respect of Councillor Law and the climate change champion, there's been 25 climate change forums across Clackmannanshire, and Councillor Law has attended 80% of these. She also sits at the table of the Causeway Environment Board, and the idea that someone else would be the champion for the area that Fiona has absolutely dove right into to represent this council very, very well, to me just doesn't make sense either. I think we need a champion. The message needs to be clear for the public out there who that champion is, and we're sticking with the recommendations in the paper.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Quinn.
Well, there is a lot of parties that have more than one champion for things. You know, like in the council, for example, just doing one. You've got multiple champions for certain issues. The fact that people are confused by more than one person is absolute nonsense. The very fact that all of us are part of 3 or 4 member wards, but every single person is represented by 3 or 4 elected members, every single person is represented by multiple members of the Scottish Parliament. The idea that people don't understand that there's only one person, it's ludicrous. You know, people have got a bit more common sense than that and understand how the one works a bit more. And what we're seeking to do, I guess, with this amendment is to say, okay, we kind of take both of the points here, that yes, okay, you see the logic, there's a sense in having the spokespersons, but at the same time, like Councillor Cleave said, it was just always just going to be the spokesperson doing something, then why do you bother having them in the first place? But I can see the logic there. But also, it's like, you know, we're attempting to kind of reach out to work together. I mean, just the other week, we very successfully, and I think we all the parties, we all agreed on the budget. We put a political difference aside, we sat down, and we beat the budget together. And on that kind of same kind of theme, I think we could get together and have other people with experience be involved in issues to help champion them, to help be involved in briefings, to help go along with events of the public and things like that, so they can have a better understanding of what's going on, so they can better champion things. And as well, I mean, you know, no matter how every one person is, there will be people in the public and people in organisations that just don't get on with them. You know, they don't, and that's not bad. It's just how it works, and that's a good thing as well. We have multiple councillors in every ward. If somebody doesn't like me, you can go to one of our councillors. If somebody doesn't like another councillor, or they don't feel like they're being represented by them, they can come to me. There's options for people there, and this amendment in no way takes away of any of the work that the administration are doing, and that they want to do what they do, as we're seeking to maintain that we have them positions as champions. But it's if anything, it's to enhance that, to allow more scrutiny, to allow more expertise, to allow more experience to be heard in the council and to provide more of a voice to people who are affected by these issues. Thank you.
Okay, to see you against the, I should have pointed out, I have a second that we should have, we give up to do that to bring compliance, to take that to the comply rather than community plan in the way. Councillor Bailey.
Now I'm going to amend the debate now on this. Okay, thank you. Of the amendment, right. To me, it's another level of bureaucracy. Every person who is in administration and has a portfolio has already got that authority and who is already able to set meetings. Now, if you don't go to that meeting, because you're not a champion, then to me that's a dereliction of duty as a council. Because whether you're a group leader or any level of council, if you are interested in that and you're on that board to actually go to a meeting, it doesn't matter if you're a champion or if you're just Joe Bloggs going to a meeting. So to me, that extra level of bureaucracy just doesn't make sense, because if we make everybody either shadow spokesperson or spokesperson, then there's nobody left. We're a very small council. We don't have 80, 90 people sitting in the chamber. We have 18, and to me, that means that most people are going to be going to most meetings, whether they're champions or not. And I just think it's crazy to have this extra layer.
Say, this was supposed to be helpful, and it doesn't seem to be coming across this way, but what we were trying to do was saying that we could provide additional context to these matters just through experience that we've had. And I'm not saying that Councillor Forson doesn't have that experience. We're absolutely sure that she does, and that other people involved in the administration have got substantial experience and attend substantial meetings. This appears to have led to a level of defensiveness, but essentially that's what we're saying. What we're saying is we can actually add more. You know, I'll just give an example. I mean, Councillor Forson raised the budget meeting. I didn't attend the budget meeting because I was significantly disabled. It wasn't because I didn't want to, and I didn't want to represent my constituents. I absolutely didn't want to, but unfortunately my disability was such that I was unable to. So, you know, I mean, that wasn't any intention to do anything that would be upsetting to anybody. So I can give that context in terms of equality for disabled people. So it was fully intended to be helpful and to say that, you know, people in the administration have got a significant number of roles, as I've just expressed today. They're given loud and clear how many roles they have and how many committees they attend. It's an intention to be helpful, and that's, I don't think it's been read as that, so I think that's unfortunate.
Thank you. Councillor.
I think that may be because of the wording of the amendment. It clearly states that the champions have got experience, and to that end, I recommend the amendment. So I think the wording is in the amendment. If you didn't think it should be taken the way that it has been, then the wording maybe should have been thought about.
Councillor Lindsay. Councillor Lindsay, you can keep the comments to the chair, please.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, just I think just to build on that particular point. I think, to be honest, I think it's slightly ironic that this is creating the biggest debate of the council meeting today, given the scale of the papers that we've been through. I think that kind of shows, you know, maybe where our frustrations lie. But I think, you know, I take comments that have been made as well to Councillor Linney. But I think there's a couple of points. First of all, for me, I probably didn't see it coming because for me it's clean, it's cleaner. We have political administration. Of course, there's different examples across the country. Highland Council is a completely different example because of the fact that it has 80 plus councillors, different parties, independents, etc. Slightly different example. It keeps it clean and it keeps it, you know, played to the public in terms of who that particular champion is. So for me, it was just a no-brainer anyway. I completely agree with Councillor, although I think the challenge here is that the wording is incredibly careless, to be honest. It's maybe not meant that way, so withdraw that if it wasn't intentional, but it is careless, because the amendment, speaking to the amendment, it is equally important that champions have lived experience. I have no idea what the lived experience is around this table. I know some of it, I don't know some of the others, I'm thinking of aspects of it. So I think it's careless to suggest that, that the of the members that are outlined in the paper don't have a similar, or maybe doing something that don't have a similar level of lived experience. That's the way it's reading. So it's perhaps not meant to have read in that sense, but it's reading that way to me, and it seems like it's read that way to others. So for me, as an administration, I certainly can't support it. I don't think we can support the amendment as it's being relayed out. I think it just creates greater confusion. I appreciate the extra clarification that's been given, but still, I don't think it gives us any greater clarification for people out there in terms of who is overseeing those particular areas of work and what's there's a law that goes on. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Lee.
Thanks, Chair. To me, this is just all marketing. I think a very bit effective marketing and adjustment promotion. This can be adopted in the portfolio holders who already cover all that material anyway. They already cover all the access, views of all the 8 bodies. They can make the change and they interact with the bodies, of which there are members put forward from across the chamber. And just to be a holder, because at the end of the day, we're all champions of all the values in this paper and of the council. So if someone wants to be care, elderly, doesn't matter really I've got a commitment or the political relation, I'll take that forward with the council, give them. So I feel like champions is just another layer of the layers that already exist. So I'll set my position, I'll be abstaining on both, and I won't stand in the way.
Thanks for that, Councillor Coyne.
Thank you, my birth side is Libra, which means I am born to see both sides of the argument. That's good. If the endeavour to want to be in the system, I get that, because I felt that frustration when I first came into council. Coming in from the outside, well, you don't understand how this thing works, and you really want to get everybody to be a part of it. That's not always possible. But I understand that a small community of 18 councillors working together has worked, as far as I understand it. So I understand the intention to participate and contribute to activities that go on under the heading of champions. So again, I can understand from the comments made by Stuart why it's slanted to the administration. That makes a lot of sense as well. So considering the effects of on both sides, with both eyes crossed, I guess that it really comes down to effectiveness. What would make a decision based on what would be effective. And I think it might be more effective rather than formalising the role of a shadow champion, that the individuals concerned make their presence felt with the would-be opposite number of the same. If you're having debates, I'm maybe something to add to this because of my experience, if that's what's involved for my interest. So I think it probably will work better if it's an informal, cooperative, voluntary arrangement rather than something which is strictly defined, giving someone a role perhaps might pass on a sense of entitlement, might pass on a sense of responsibility, which we might not be in a position to uphold. So I'm guessing my position is the great idea in general principle and its intentions, but I think it's probably unlawful. So I will go for this.
Thank you for that. Councillor.
I would be dream of the assumptions about anybody's life experience, not the idea about labels. Anybody that knows me knows champion means nothing to me basically. And I suppose when I looked at it, I was thing about passion and maybe an additional dimension in one area, maybe or another. To feed in and help shape is the important thing here. Absolutely understand what Donald's saying about accountability, because and political roles here. So yeah, please don't think that it was meant to take away from any existing what's the word I'm looking for? Any existing champion. It was mainly to help. And as I said, it's more about passion. And that's what they say on the YouTube platform. So I've watched you for years to know you up, you know, so that's it.
Thank you for that. Any other contributions? Yes, I have an opportunity to come in. So that's to the votes. The amended amendment, which is for the shadow posts.
For
You want to go with the amendment? So just a reminder to council that the amendment that was put forward has been withdrawn and a new amendment in its place. That is the recommendation of the councillor Earl that the champion for climate change, champion for equalities and champion for promise are dealt with as substitutes rather than the actual nominees. And they are Councillor Quinn, Councillor Rennie and Councillor Martin. And I believe somebody got a roll call for us.
Yeah.
So Councillor Berry,
Against.
Councillor Mead, you have seen. Councillor Lindsay.
Against.
Councillor McLaughlin.
For.
Councillor Balsally.
Against.
Councillor Rennie. Councillor Keogh.
For.
Councillor Long. Councillor Hampton. Councillor Rennie. Councillor Taggart. Councillor
For.
Councillor Forsyth.
Against.
Councillor Quinn.
For.
Councillor Martin.
For.
And Councillor Coyne.
Yes.
1, 2, 7, 9. 98 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 6. Probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one abstention.
Okay, so the amendments that were lost, we'll be back to the original paper. Original. That's now for the debate. Introduce the debate paper. Yes, of course.
Well, just comment briefly on that. I mean, I think a conversation ahead of an amendment has been submitted out with the Green might solve a lot of issues there, and I certainly encourage that for the future. As a council, we're often asked by organisations, who's your champion? So the Royal Legion wants to know who our champion for veterans are because they're invited to attend lots of events. And the people who are going to organise climate change events, want to know who the council's representative is on those things, who's your climate change champion. So this paper really just provides clarity on that for organisations who are looking to engage with the council at the level, the policy level, which is what most of them actually do want to engage with you on. They want to challenge you on the policy that you're delivering. They want to ask you questions about why you might not be delivering in a certain way, and they want to try and influence the policies that you bring forward. And certainly that's something as an administration that we are 100% committed to engaging in. I think as well the champion positions there that I specifically asked for, and that was the champion for the promise and the champion for equalities, because it's something I do feel very very, very passionately about. There's certainly no lack of passion in that on this side. And it was really just to highlight there, because the work that we are carrying out through the promise is very, very important. It's there to make the lives better of our most vulnerable young people. And I think it's really important that we do have a champion who's identifiable and who's held accountable when we maybe don't get it right. And the same for equalities. I think through all the work that I do through the Alliance and other forum like the City Deal, I've always got equalities at the heart of that, making sure that we get the best outcomes for our most vulnerable people. So I'm pleased that we've actually been able to agree that those champions will be added into the council books, and that we have clarity on those. In addition to other people who want to get involved in, kind of these sorts of areas, the door's always open and the forums are there already. We have our boards, we've got our Children and Young People's Board, we've got the Climate Challenge Board. That's the opportunity to kind of get in there and help shape policy and drive things forward. When papers are coming forward proposed by the administration on policies, the opportunity is there to shape them as well, to amend them, to put forward alternatives. That's the jobs. And I would kind of suggest as well that for opposition groups, you can appoint shadow champions if you want to. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. Most of them appoint shadow spokespeople. So I would suggest that that's certainly something that could be taken forward. And from my position, I meet regularly with the leaders of the other groups, and we chat things through. Maybe there's an opportunity for shadow spokespeople to get together to chat things through as well. I just think there's a way forward there, but what I would definitely say on this is the door's always open. Folk know where I am. If you want to discuss an amendment or, maybe clarify something so that it doesn't come across of the way that today's amendment did come across, which was, it was patronising almost. And I think that put people's backs up. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned there for the future. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate?
Thank you. I would say, I can assure you, under no circumstances, but I meant the part of the statement. Before the road, that's not me. I don't do that. It was the best of the world, means to take some of the load of the administration as well. The story of the road, we have a small authority, and now we have that has a lot of responsibility, and it's really putting a hand out to say, well, if you share some of that, then in the field and accept that. That's more positive. As far as the paper is concerned, yeah, probably the championship course, fine, yeah, that's with it. But as I say, it was merely a method of trying to share the workload. That was all.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other contributions? Councillor Sullivan, do you have an opportunity to sum up?
Yeah, very quickly. Being born under the symbol Pisces, I don't want the response to sound like a slap in the face if I'm not passionate. The key element for me is that as elected councillors, we all deal with all these topics of interest, absolutely. And picking up the councillor on the stage like points, I'm sure the champions for each of these topic areas we've discussed today will engage with those people in the Labour group concerned to agreements to take forward that sort of remit, and hopefully able to achieve that, because as you say, there's no shortage of work or issues to get engaged with in these sub-topic areas. So I think the champion's role is about a single point of contact, and I do believe a shadow spokesman would have made the waters murky in that aspect. So I think for a good debate, although I think given the papers that we've had today, I'm sure some of the other ones with such as the strategic investment framework could have a greater debate, but we've all been briefed on those papers, and we didn't have this council leader has indicated some kind of discussion with the champions. So we've had the debate, we've taken the decision, and
Yes, thanks for that, Thomas. So the paper is recommending that we agree the approach taken to deciding champions for various issues to nominate most relevant elected post holders. Agree the nominations specified as champions set at the table of paragraph B3. And agree the roles of leader champions together in paragraphs 3.4 to 3.10. Intent to approve the paper. Yep. Thank you very much. That's the end of the agenda itself. Other than the last night, the problem was a communication issue with that fortunately the other party and to change it. It's only a discussion happening now. But actually, I think for all of us, it's probably was there's an awful lot of really big importance in this agenda this morning. A lot of us excited and a lot of it's going to be challenging for us, but there's a great amount of consensus in the field this morning around some of this that can actually happen, not just for us to see, but for people at Clackmannanshire to recognise not just the challenges, but the opportunities that are there. From Ross's point of view, there's not a lot of papers sitting there in front of us. All of that, there's quite a lot of what's going on in the background with people who are working the socks off to get to the point of delivering some of this stuff. So I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for their contributions. It's closed. Thank you very much.